Okay. Oh, and by the way, candidates, I wanted to let you know, because I know I got a couple of emails today from you guys that there were microphone issues last night. I apologize about that. I didn't know. And I said, no problem. We have 3 tonight. And then I got here and it's a brand new event staff. And they were like, we only have 1 microphone. And I'm like, but on the event plan, it said 3. And they're like, we ordered 2 more. I'm like, okay.
You're live.
Oh, I'm live. Okay, great. Okay. All right. Well, then I guess it's a little after 5:30. So we'll go ahead and get this party started. I'm excited to have so many of you here. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you so much to the Easy Reader for providing live stream services for us tonight so that we can have lots more people in attendance, which is great. Nice to see some familiar faces, and nice to also be able to meet some new candidates that are joining us tonight. The first thing I wanted to start out with is, what the heck is the DBPA? It's a lot of words. It's the Downtown Manhattan Beach Business and Professional Association. So you can see why we go by DBPA. What is the DBPA is often what I get asked when I say I'm the executive director, which, by the way, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Jill Lemkin. I'm the executive director for the DBPA. We are a business district, and the business district runs from Valley Drive west to Ocean Drive, and from 15th Street south to 8th Street, and everything in between. Any licensed business that is within that area is automatically a member of the DBPA. That's about 250 businesses. So we represent quite a few people. And what I do is, because all of these guys are so busy with their individual businesses, I'm actually the one that represents them at things like city council meetings and department meetings. I work with a lot of people on the marketing and public relations and that kinds of stuff too. So basically, I'm the representative for all of those businesses, and we are so excited to welcome all of these wonderful candidates tonight. I set them up in alphabetical order, which I understand is not very unique, that has happened multiple times. I apologize about that. I should have shifted around a little bit. I didn't realize I was playing the same game everyone else did. So the format tonight is actually different than a lot of the candidate forms you've seen. We tend to be a much more lighthearted group, and the questions that we're going to ask are all going to relate to the businesses in downtown Manhattan Beach, because this is our opportunity to ask candidates how they would answer these questions if it were asked and they were sitting on the dais at City Council. So these are questions that were determined by our membership, things that are important to us in terms of our current success and success moving forward. So those are the types of questions that we'll be asking tonight. Very short and sweet. There will be 1 minute to answer each question. And there are even 2 sections that are just yes or no, and they have these fancy paddles that they hold up. So those are our rapid fire questions. So they'll be going through those pretty quickly too. So I think that is everything. Does that cover everything you guys need to know? Okay, well, you're welcome, Mark. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, and we're going to start out with Mark at this end and then go down the line, and then next time we'll start with Frank and do it that way. But the first question, you have 1 minute. Oh, I didn't even tell you, we have a bell ringer back here. And at 1 minute, you will get the bell. It's her important job of the night, so I want her to get to do it at least once. Okay, so everyone has 1 minute to answer the question. It's the only question you guys got in advance. But within 1 minute, answer, what is your favorite event in downtown Manhattan Beach and why? Go ahead, Mark. Oh, here, you need that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Burton. There's so many favorite events downtown Manhattan Beach. I think it's the crown jewel of our community. I really like the pumpkin races and watching the children. To me, there's just something very magical about that. But like I said, we have so many great events. I'm on the Roundhouse Aquarium board. Grace Adams, our executive director, is here tonight. So obviously, I'm a strong supporter of the Roundhouse Aquarium. I think it's a magical place to our family and kids too. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Frank Chiella. I'm running for city council, or I wouldn't be here. I had 15 or 35 years on the Manhattan Beach fire department. So I know a lot of you from the other side. I had 4 major fires in the downtown area during my career and did a lot of inspections with you and also running emergency calls. And I think I bring a new viewpoint, being from within city government for all of those years and knowing how the inner workings of the city is. So my favorite activity is the downtown open house, because I love walking around and shopping with my wife, enjoying everybody getting into the festive season. So thank you all for being here, and I hope we have a fun and exciting night.
November 16th is the holiday open house. 5 to 9 p.m.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Rita Crabtree Kumpa. I'm a proud 26-year homeowner and resident of Manhattan Beach. My husband and I raised our 2 children here in this amazing beach town. I have the same event because of the wonderful traditions of bringing our community together in the holiday stroll and the pier lighting. It's just an evening where all communities come together, and because we have such a safe and wonderful community, we're able to celebrate the joy of a new season. We get to know our business owners a little bit better because we're on a more personal basis with them. So it's the very epitome of what our community is: a resident to business owner, and every celebration possible that we can support each other and just grow together as a community. We are an amazing beach community.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stuart Fournier, and I'm a 45-year resident and a 40-year participant in many, many volunteer groups. And the one that sticks out for me would be the car show. That's fairly new. It was being put on, I believe, by the Manhattan Beach Police Officers Association. I think they've had 2 of them. They had one just before COVID, and now they had a second one, I think, last year. The third, okay, anyway, the reason I have a particular fondness of this, because I was a volunteer for the department for 13 years. I worked with their victims assistance team, and I handled a number of crimes that I won't mention right now. I don't want to bring the spirits down to the audience, but I have affinity for that police department. Unfortunately, it's been a number of years since I've been off, so I don't know the patrol officers anymore, but it's fun to run into the command staff who I keep in close contact with. Say that 10 times. So that would be my favorite event. Right under a minute. That was
Hi, everyone. I'm Suzanne Hadley. I'm the only incumbent running for my second term on City Council. I had a blast the first time, and I'm ready for more. There's more work to be done. So I would say I have a 2-part answer to this question, because I have one as a resident and a wife and a mother, and I love them all. And the second answer I would say is I want downtown events for DBPA that help DBPA members. And as you know, we have services, we have retailers, and we have businesses. And the services are medical and hair and personal care. We have retailers that sell stuff and have, maybe close a little bit earlier. And then we have restaurants that some are open in the daytime and some in the evening. And sometimes those, there's some tensions among those groups. So when I joined council, I found out that more downtown events aren't necessarily what the DBPA members want, or that some groups don't want. So I do want to balance. I think that the retailers, I owned my own brick and mortar retailer for 20 years. I like the off-peak events rather than just everything happening at Christmas. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Amy Howarth, and I served for 2 terms on the City Council, terming out in 2019, and I also served for 2 terms on the school board. And I am so appreciative of everything that all of you all do on the Downtown Business and Professional Association. I've worked closely with you when I was on the council. And what I love about the Downtown Open House Stroll, it's really fun for residents. It's an incredible evening, but I think it benefits the businesses in downtown because I think people come in and shop and they're out. And I think that that's what's really special about it. And also, as you mentioned, November 16th this year, but one year it happened to be on November 14th, which might have been my birthday. And so after a wonderful dinner at Strand House, I got to go down to the pier and it was lit up for my birthday. So I have a special fondness for that. I'm grateful that you guys put on the farmers market. I'm grateful for everything you do. It doesn't just benefit all of you business owners, but all the residents. And let's keep in mind that so many of you are residents as well. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you for everyone who's watching. I'm David Lester, 28-year resident, so I guess I'm somewhat of a newbie compared to others up here. I had the privilege of serving as your mayor twice, and on council for 8 years. My favorite event, the holiday open house. No surprise. I mean, it can be anything you want it to be based on what your family is interested in. It can be as simple as the petting zoo, and for the younger kids, it can be the opportunity to go shopping. It can be the opportunity to listen to music. So for the schools to be involved, it can be the lighting of the pier, which really brings in the holiday season. It reflects our community at its best. It's open to all, and that would be my favorite event. Thank you for hosting again tonight.
Well, now I expect to see everyone at the holiday open house this year. Okay, well, we're going to do our first rapid fire session. So get those paddles ready. Okay, so the first one is, have you ever owned your own business? Okay. Okay, thank you. Next is, do you support continuing outdoor dining in the streets and on the sidewalks until a permanent outdoor dining plan is in place? Suzanne, are you going to answer?
Yes, I'm abstaining on council, so yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. All right. Next one. When businesses in downtown Manhattan Beach are charged for use of the public right-of-way for dining, should those revenues stay in downtown for projects and improvements within the district? I certainly can. When businesses in downtown Manhattan Beach are charged, they're currently not being charged. So when they are being charged for use of the public right-of-way for dining, should those revenues stay in downtown for projects and improvements within the district? Okay. All right. Do you believe that as a city, we should be attracting visitors to our community?
Is that a trick question?
No. Okay. Downtown Manhattan Beach is thriving and doesn't need the support of our residents. That was a trick question. We know that we have a few months of the year that we are lucky enough to have a lot of visitors in town, but the bread and butter, the heart and soul of our district comes from our residents, and we know that and appreciate it. And so we just want to make sure you did too. All right. If elected, would you support bringing back a local downtowner type electric vehicle rideshare service for locals that is at least partially funded by the city?
If we need more information, should we?
You can waver if you want. I know it's a little simplistic. Okay, thanks guys. Okay, the city has, this is a long one, I apologize. The city has generously waived fees for outdoor dining over the past 2+ years. However, it is not practical for retail and service businesses to similarly operate outdoors. To assist those businesses, would you be in favor of waiving permit fees to place A-frame signs and/or a rolling rack of clothing or merchandise on the sidewalk to help drive business into their locations if they follow the same ADA and access requirements that are used during sidewalk sales? I know it is a really long question. I had to give all the information first. The first part is because outdoor dining, the fees were waived for so long for those businesses. Would you be willing to support waiving permit fees to place some items on the sidewalk for the other types of retailers. That looked a little like peer pressure, Frank.
Are the waving of the fees going to continue at the same time? I don't know.
Well, they're two different things, the restaurant fees versus the sidewalk permit fees. So, does that help, Frank? Sort of?
A little bit.
Okay, all right. Okay. Nice job on the quick answers. Good job. Okay, so now we're gonna start with Frank and we'll rotate back around this way. And again, 1 minute, that's it, 60 seconds. This time you are going to name the most impactful thing that you personally have done to support the businesses in downtown Manhattan Beach. What you personally have done that is most impactful to the businesses of downtown Manhattan Beach.
And I only get one, right?
And 1 minute.
Okay, I think it would be that through the fire department and Manhattan Beach CERT Association that we've come down to the businesses and offered to provide them education and training in disaster preparedness, first aid, and CPR, which really affects everyone in the community, whether they work here or, that wasn't the time, was it? Or have guests that come to the restaurants or their businesses who may need emergency care before the fire department can arrive.
Thank you. So the most impactful thing that I personally have done to assist the Downtown Business Association or businesses. Several years ago, I identified an issue, a safety and community issue in Manhattan Beach. I spoke to many other people and nobody was really doing anything. I took the initiative to address homelessness in our community. I came out of retirement. I loved playing volleyball on the beach all the time. But I didn't recognize that anybody else was willing to take the step to move forward to protect our community from the issues of homelessness, the safety issues, the issues to our downtown businesses, which included debris left behind by encampments that were impacting people who were trying to open their businesses the next morning. It just was unsafe, unsanitary, and unsustainable. So I co-founded a program called, an organization called MB Safe, and collaborated with the city for best practices to address homelessness.
This is an easy one for me. It's the 5,000 patty melts I've eaten at the kettle. I've been a commissioner I was a planning commissioner for 3.5 years. And in that process and during that time, I approved many restaurant permits. I served on the Parking and Public Improvements Commission as well, where I was responsible for a lot of the parking issues. So there's quite a few issues that I've addressed as a commissioner. And also, I've been a business person for close to a little over 40 years actually. And I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce off and on for about 30 years. So those are the two most, I'm sorry, I was only supposed to get one, right? Sorry.
That's okay.
Hi, I do consider myself the small business champion as an incumbent on city council. I have my MBA, I'm the only one. I did own my own brick and mortar retailer. We had a for businesses. Some of my friends here, Heather Kim, my colleague Joe Franklin, Charlene Harding, were with me when we worked to reopen the smaller retailers when the big box stores were open and our small businesses were closed during COVID. Then to save our restaurants, I worked hard on the outdoor dining and to pave the way for the parklets to keep our restaurants open. I'm not lost a single business downtown during COVID, and I'm super proud of that. And that's services, that's retailers, and that's restaurants. I will work hard for you. I've been in your shoes, I've walked the talk, and I would really love to have a second term. Thank you.
One thing I always loved about your association is that you were problem solvers. When I would attend your meetings over the 8 years I was on council, there wasn't whining. It was, Amy, here's a problem and here's what we think would work. I worked with Mike Zislis and Maureen and Linda on parking. So we were able to open the parking underneath City Hall after 5 so that more people could come in and use parking there. And I was one of the early and vociferous supporters of the red bags at the holidays. It's hard to believe we had to fight for those, but at one time after the 2008 recession, they went away and I fought to bring those back. And first I think it was a week and then it was 2 weeks and now it's just permanent. It doesn't come to council. They're always going to be there. I'm proud of that. I supported the downtowner. I also supported a position at the city, the economic development director. And sometimes you hear talk about, I won't approve extra, candidates don't want to approve extra positions. The economic development director would be crucial in the issue of downtown dining decks, for example. That shouldn't live in the planning department. It should be under an economic development director's office. Thank you.
Before I was elected to council, I served on the Parking Public Improvements Commission, and I was on the Planning Commission for 6 years. And in that position, I also approved a number of restaurant plans and heard the pleas of many business owners that there needed to be more planning for downtown. So in answer to the question, what was the most impactful thing I did, is I helped start our council down the road of coming up with a master plan for our downtown. Where it went off the rails was when there was an insistence that there had to be a specific plan and had to be a ULI plan, which ultimately cost $1.4 million before it was rejected by the Coastal Commission and we had to withdraw it. But the guidelines from that plan are still being used as a point of reference to help facilitate and plan and allow business owners to better understand what they can build downtown. So that would be the most impactful thing I've done.
Pass it, and I'm done, so you don't have to run. Oh, that might be easier.
Thank you, Jill.
I need my steps though.
So I'm the only candidate that lives east of Sepulveda, but I'm downtown as much as anyone else because it's the crown jewel of our community. So you will always have my unwavering support. And I demonstrated that about 7 or 8 years ago. We were losing our small businesses downtown because the commercial real estate was overheated. There was a danger that we're going to become a financial district. So I sponsored a freeze on the change in use on the first floor that saved downtown. So you will always have my unwavering support. And I was able to do that because I'm a former senior assistant city attorney, so I know local government. And I'm a very strong leader. And I don't dilly, I don't dally, I don't send it to committee, I get things done. Thank you.
If this one takes you a minute, you're in big trouble because this is a very easy one. And I already think I know the answer for Stuart. What is your favorite dish from a downtown restaurant?
Wow. Okay. So that's a loaded question, actually. And it could take me a minute to answer because I have to think hard. There are so many. We are blessed with an amazing array of restaurants. And I was just at one last night and I happened to mention to the owner, tonight, this is what I'm in the mood for. So I'm going to say it again. Freakalicious salad at Love and Salt is one of my absolute go-tos. It's just my draw. It's got the right mix and match of everything. But that being said, 7 days a week, I have a different appetite. And I love to visit all of our restaurants. Thank you.
All right, so cat's out of the bag, but I want to get specific about that sandwich. When I was on the commission, Simsies came before us and they were trying to get something through. And I said, I'm only approving this if you change that bread back to the rye bread that it was before. And you know what? The motion passed.
I'm partial to breakfast all day and I love all the greens omelet at the Kettle.
I'm taking more than one. I like the donuts that they do here at Shade in the Strand House, and especially the holiday stroll, and they're just hot and glazed. And I like combo number 2 at El Sombrero. What can I say? But then, when I'm feeling fancy, I'll take a Wagyu at Arthur J. So don't forget the biscuits at MB Post. All right. Who else can I pander to?
You did well, Amy.
So this is a tough question. It's sort of a Solomonic question where you have to pick your favorite child or pick their favorite attribute. I can't do that because we go to downtown restaurants on a regular basis, my family and I. So I would say, I'm just going to name what I last ate downtown, which was breakfast on Sunday, where we went to Un Cafe and they have an incredible French omelet and wonderful coffee. And that's just the latest place we've been because we love so many restaurants downtown.
Well, in the last 10 years, we've kind of seen a revitalization of downtown. And it really started with Mike Sims and Mike Zislis bringing high-end restaurants. I love reading the LA Times when they're talking about the best restaurants in Southern California, and they talk about our restaurants. So we've become a destination point as far as restaurants. They're all my favorites. The old places, Ercles Hamburger, the Shade, everywhere. There is no one favorite. And I'm down here all the time having lunch. It's a great place to be. It is our crown jewel.
Well, I'm not one of the politicians up here, but I'm going to give you a politician's answer, which you've already heard. My wife and I love to wander downtown, and we love to visit all the different restaurants and try all the different foods. And neither one of us have a great big appetite. So sometimes we split a dish that we like, and the other times the portions are so big for us that we have another dinner that we take home with us. So we enjoy everything down here. We love variety. We love to get out and stroll around downtown and eat our stomachs to excess.
It is a really hard question. And I will say, I do see you all down here regularly because I spend a lot of time down here. So thank you for patronizing our businesses. It's really important. And thank you to all of you as well. Okay, this next question. Manhattan Beach has experienced a recent increase in crime in both businesses. Manhattan Beach has experienced a recent increase in crime, and both businesses and residents have expressed concerns about feeling safe downtown. Employees sometimes leave work late at night and walk several blocks to their cars, potentially carrying cash to deposit. What suggestions do you have to ensure the safety of both our visitors and our employees? Let's see,
NB Weekly did a survey, and they said that there were two other candidates that rated higher than me on police work, and I thought, how did I let that happen? I worked for 13 years with the police department, riding side by side with our officers, responding to any imaginable crime you can think of. And during that period in time, learned a lot about crime in Manhattan Beach. I also had a TV show that was sponsored by all three police departments, Manhattan, Redondo, and Hermosa. Did over close to 100 shows on crime prevention. This is a looming question that I think in many ways has not been addressed properly. We need more leadership with respect to telling the truth about crime in Manhattan Beach. Can't do it in 1 minute, but I encourage you to go to my website and see my background. I have more knowledge and more background, more time, energy, and effort than anyone in this subject matter.
Crime is a rising problem in Manhattan Beach, and public safety and crime prevention is job number one for me. If you don't feel safe here, you won't keep your business open, you'll close earlier, you'll let employees go, or maybe you'll even close and move to another community. I'm a big supporter of our police. I have never focused on defunding or reimagining our police. I have never called for aggregating race-based statistics for arrests. I supported our police during the civil unrest. I've never appeared in a picture with George Gascon. I've never endorsed George Gascon. I worked hard on his recall. He is the one who is almost singularly responsible in the last couple of years with our uptick in crime and emptying prisons and not prosecuting misdemeanors. Our LADA, George Gascon, has not prosecuted over 100 misdemeanors, and he's slow on other things as well. He has not given us permission to hire our own prosecutor or contract with Redondo Beach. I have been pushing. I will be muscular on this. We've added bike patrols, foot patrols. I'm pro PD and pro public safety.
Yeah, I want to keep Manhattan Beach safe. And I understand why people are concerned, because crime is up 30% since I left office. I have a proven record of prioritizing public safety. You can ask former police chiefs Derek Abel and Eve Irvine. I was always supportive. If they wanted more positions, I was happy to fund them. I believe that we should increase the police presence in downtown, but I'm not a public safety expert. And so I want to rely on their advice, because part of the problem is if you have a foot patrol, can they get to the other end of downtown in time if there's a problem? So I do want an increased police presence, but I do want the police chief to sign off on that. I also think we have to think about North Manhattan Beach too. It's not just downtown, right? So I support more police if the chief wants it. I don't think adding 20 more police is practical or good for our bottom line, good for our pension obligation, good for any of that. When can you have enough police? But I do want an increased police presence. Thank you.
Public safety is, of course, our highest priority. It's the highest priority for everybody who's up here. I'm the only candidate that actually worked in the district attorney's office before law school. I'm not a fan of the current district attorney. The biggest challenge I see is not just George Gascon. It has to do with sentencing laws that have changed through ballot propositions throughout the state. With regard to downtown in particular, which was the question, I would like to see more patrol officers downtown. Our police department says that they're adequately staffed with patrol officers. What I would propose would be at the first mid-year budget meeting that we have, let's evaluate that. Let's evaluate how they've come to their criteria of sufficient staffing for patrol officers and how they're staffing downtown. They don't always want to disclose all of the details. This is all of our public safety. I stand behind our police and our police chief, who's getting to know our city because she's relatively new. But our police veterans all say that we're adequately staffed and safe, but there's a feeling, there's a perception that there are not enough patrol officers. I think we need to discuss it as a community.
Really good at sharing.
So as many of you know, my career has been in public service, primarily to public safety and police departments. General counsel of LAPD, former prosecutor prosecuting thousands of police cases, airport police, and then also on council, I sponsored the automated license plate reader program that was so successful. So I am a policing expert. I'm the public safety candidate we need on council. Here's what we need to do downtown. We need to do it sooner than later, especially when you saw that armed robbery. 30% up, that's a crisis. Two things. We need to have a ring of steel around downtown, and that's those security cameras right around downtown. So anybody goes in, anybody goes out, they're on camera. Number two, you need to have footbeat patrols, beginning at noon, going to midnight. The presence of a police officer is the number one deterrent to crime. That's a proven fact. When I worked with LAPD, we worked with the Hollywood bid to clean up Hollywood. We put a footbeat officer, cleaned up crime right away. That's how you deter crime. This is from a policing expert, and we've got the money to do it.
Frank Kiela, 35 years in public safety in Manhattan Beach. So I've worked with the PD arm in arm, day to day, night to night, downtown, north end, east end of town. And we do need more police officers. Two problems is we're not filling the open positions that are currently authorized. And we also need to authorize more positions. And this is talking with the people who are out there in the field, not necessarily talking with the new police chief, but I believe council will all get together and have that discussion. Ways to do that is the police department is currently paying over $2 million a year in overtime. Also, the fire department, over $2 million a year in overtime. By using that overtime money, you can hire more police officers and put them on the street. Currently, The patrol officers are at 29 positions. I would move that to 35 positions, 5 in traffic, additional 1 in traffic.
By the time you're the 7th person, you almost forgot the question. So apologies. I'm also the youngest of 7, so I'm used to that, I guess. So the question, I think, related directly to what are we going to do to actually help people who are working in our businesses downtown and help them to feel more safe in our community when they're walking to their cars or at the end of an evening or at the end of a shift. Currently, we are using non-police staff, for example, in the pier parking lots, to deter crime and deter partying and noise, which was disturbing the residences. So it's an advantage that our bars and restaurants are open late, disadvantage to the residents. By having those staff there with walkie-talkies, so that if there was an issue, we have a lower paying employees that are able to help deter crime and be sure that till 2 o'clock in the morning, at least in those areas, that business employees are able to get to their cars safely.
Well done. That's a lot for a minute, isn't it? Nice job. This one's even harder in a minute because I've lived here for 23 years now. And this has been a question that's probably been asked of every city council candidate as long as I can remember, even back when I owned a store downtown. What specific ideas do you have to help mitigate the loss of public parking downtown? Or do you have a recommendation for alternative parking for downtown employees and beach visitors? Let's see, and I think we're Suzanne.
Yes, great question. I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin and with some similar issues, tourism versus locals with parking and businesses. It is an issue here. I would very much be in favor of some shuttle services to the Manhattan Village Mall. I would be open. I've been pushing since I've been on council to open some of the city parking lots earlier and longer to allow members of the public, and I've worked with Jill to allow employees to park there. I know that parking is an issue and we have to work on it. I also would like to shrink permanent outdoor dining. I think that permanent outdoor dining will be here and I'm very much in favor of it and the community loves it. We do need a permanent plan to bring in all the stakeholders, and it needs to be smaller than what we have now post-COVID. So that will restore some of the parking as well. And then honestly, I think over time things will get better. People are biking more. They're riding scooters. The electric bikes have been a big plus. People are walking and ride sharing. So I think in time, fewer cars will be coming to downtown, but we have to plan for it. Thank you.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I was happy to partner with the Downtown Business Association many, many years ago to start to open up the City Hall employee lots, right? And I can see that now maybe you could make it so after 2 o'clock, if there was an open space down there, it would be available. And I agree completely with what Councilmember Hadley said about the permanent dining and the solutions. This is what I'm saying, that we need to, whether it's an economic development director or a consultant or this task force that the council already approved but hasn't materialized, we need to work on these issues to mitigate the impacts, the intensification of uses of the permanent dining decks or the downtown dining decks. We have lost parking. It's an issue because the Coastal Commission demands that we not lose parking. We will be out of compliance. There's a lot of really complicated issues there. So it's about partnering. It's about using your relationships and fostering dialogue. And I also support something like the Downtowner, if you all remember that.
As many of these ideas as are practical, I think we should explore. I think bringing back another shuttle service, which I've spoken with Jill about, I think is a terrific idea, so long as we don't have the switcheroo that happened with the Downtowner, where originally they were available for free, then their area only came like west of Valley, and then it got even smaller and smaller, and then they wanted to switch to sedans that they would want the city to pay $600,000 a year for. So obviously the devil's in the details, but to the extent that there's some type of shuttle service that can augment the different ways people get to downtown, that'd be terrific. In terms of employee parking, if only there were more lots. That's been the challenge, but I would absolutely support exploring it. You know, a larger problem with this issue is many planners are predicting that cars are going to go away, that they're planning new buildings without all of the parking. My response to that is that's going to take a while. That certainly is not the case that we're experiencing now. And just as Suzanne said, we need to plan for vehicles and trips into town.
We've been a densely built out community for a long time, and parking has always been a problem. And so I think the solution is a shuttle service. We have a big parking lot right behind Macy's. We should have some type of shuttle service. We should maybe rent a lot at the Redondo Beach Performing Center, have a shuttle service. I'm sure a lot of you went to the hometown fair, and there was a shuttle service for that. We've had shuttle services before, so it can be done. That would alleviate a lot of the problems. When we get a big influx of visitors coming downtown on the weekends or for any special events, we ought to have that shuttle service in play. And then for the workers that work downtown, why can't you have a regular shuttle service from that parking lot to here? That would help with their safety too. Thank you.
Parking in the downtown area has always been a problem, and I refer back to the downtown strategic plan that was rejected back in 2018, I believe, in September. But the groundwork for that is still there. And I think we need to look at all of these multi-layered ways to handle our parking. But ultimately, when you look at cities that provide parking for their downtown areas, they build additional parking structures. We have land that is one-level parking structures. We can go down a level, we can go up a level, make them look nice like they are at the mall, and possibly double and triple our parking areas over time. But it can't be done immediately. So with all of that, we need to look at all of those multiple strategies of bringing transportation in, ultimate parking areas, and look at what we're going to do as a downtown area to provide. That's good.
No, that's okay. Yet again, I got overlooked. This is unbelievable. Just kidding. No, to address parking in Manhattan Beach, particularly the downtown area, since that's who's putting this on this evening, and that's what we're representing this evening. I think sometimes there's a perception that there's a lack of parking. We have a lot of areas that we have parking, and many residents, they want to pull right up in front of Pages. They want to pull right up in front of Tabula Rasa. Sometimes that's just not possible. Drive around a little bit, and believe me, you're probably going to find a space. Other days, obviously, there's going to be more difficult. But what I would like to encourage is, one, kiosks like we did down in the Metlux parking lot, because that way we might be able to shift a little bit on the size of parking spaces. We have multiple golf carts. We have people using small smart cars. That's more evident in our community. So we might be able to fit in more parking spaces. Additionally, I'd really like to see the campaign for e-bikes and scooters and Uber rides. And I think our Downtown Business Association can advocate for that.
Rita's right. Being the last is always repetitive. But as a parking commissioner, we looked at this issue obviously for years. And I do have to disagree with most of my colleagues up here about shuttling. Shuttling has been proven not to be an alternative. And the reason it's not an alternative, and this is from a business sense, is that it's a loser in terms of profitability. The reason that we had that company try to come in and bamboozle us was because they knew full well that they could not sustain the service that they proposed. That was something that they understood way before we got caught with the increase in what they asked for. So the bottom line is that we've had many tries for public and private partnerships for shuttles, and it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. So I don't know what the solution is as far as that's concerned. A shuttle for employees, that's a different story. That makes a lot of sense. But general shuttling for the public, it's been shown that it doesn't work.
All right. Oh, I don't have a question yet.
You answered it.
I think I'm next.
Yeah, you're next to the next
To
one.
start.
Yeah.
I was just teasing.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to have it.
It would be
I'm
helpful.
sorry.
That's okay. I think you guys can hear it, but I'm not sure if they can hear it at home.
Sorry for the confusion.
That's okay. That's okay. I really, you saw it in my eyes though, right? Like, what is happening here? I've lost control. Okay. This one will be a nice quick one as well. What was the last non-restaurant that you patronized downtown, and what did you buy? Oh, I did. I'm sorry, Amy. See, I got all thrown off now.
I believe in you, Jill.
Thank you, Amy.
So, gosh, Pages. It's very easy for me. I patronize them all the time. And I don't mean that and I patronize them. I go there all the time and shop. So I bought a book or two. I think I actually finally bought Lincoln Highway to read. I'm very excited to read that. So, yeah.
Pages really has become a community center. It's more than just a bookstore, and that was where IWAS was too. I also just bought a book. I think it was our local author Michael Levine's book, Broken Windows, that I purchased there. I mean, it's such a wonderful store among so many. But when I go for gifts, I go to, no, I better stop here.
With the high-end restaurants coming, you see a lot of retailers upping their game too. Tabula Rasa, if you go through there, it's even better than it's ever been. But my favorite, because I have a 3.5-year-old grandson and a 1.5-year-old granddaughter, is really Bella Beach Kids. If you go in there now, wow, it's just absolutely fantastic clothing for the kids, great toys, great learning things they can do. So Bella Beach Kids is really a sweetheart of a place for your grandchildren.
Gosh, I'm surprised. I don't remember the name of the store, but it's at Manhattan Avenue, Manhattan Beach Boulevard, and it's on the northwest corner. And my lovely wife sitting up here in the front went in there and we went shopping for a nice, was it a bikini or a nice one-piece swimsuit? We were on our way to a trip to Hawaii, so that was my last non-food purchase. She knows the name. Thanks.
Brian's time is up.
Okay, well, that's a tough act to follow. Well, I don't have grandchildren, but I have lots of friends who have grandchildren, and I have lots of nieces and nephews who have grandchildren. And yes, Bella Beach is the last store that I was in to purchase a variety of items. I have about 15 nieces and nephews, and they're all having babies. So yes, I purchased this really adorable whale, like comfy, cozy thing, and then a little dress for one of my other nieces and nephews. And I bought amazing gifts from there. I love Bella Beach. It's a great store to support. Plus, of course, all of the other ones that I go to. Thank you.
Well, I apologize to Maureen back there, the Tabula Rasa owner. She's my fellow leadership colleague from 2008. I'm sorry, Maureen, I didn't shop at your store. But Amy saved me. It was Pages. And for a very vain reason. There's Jan Dennis's book about the history of the Manhattan Beach Police Department. And there's a picture of me in there. So that's why I bought it.
Thanks.
I'm a flower person and a wreath person, so I'm probably in growing wild quite a bit for my seasonal items. I just love to have a new wreath on my door every so often. And then I have raised 4 kids here through our public schools, but sadly they're all very frugal and they live out of state where they are dreaming of buying homes and the price of gas is about half of ours. So I send them a lot of Manhattan Beach memorabilia from Tabula Rasa and from Gumtree. And my family also is scattered around the US and they love, shells and beautiful beach stuff. So I do enjoy the seaside. I didn't grow up in California, so I really enjoy the ocean, the SoCal vibe. I was really proud. Our own daughter came home. She lives in Michigan now. She came home for Christmas and she said, I'm going downtown to shop. And I don't know if Lori Ford is here, but she came home and she said, I can't believe I'm such an adult. I bought my own coffee table book. And I was like, whoa, she's 23 years old. And I said, what was it on? She said, LA. And it was a Gumtree. And it was really a fun experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Founded 1912 is the name of that bikini store. Have to make sure we get in the. Oh, right. Oh, that's so funny. I'm like, we have to make sure we get that recognition out there. So thank you very much. Okay. All right. So the next question is: contrary to the latest homeless count reports from the county, residents and businesses have reported a heavy increase in unhoused individuals downtown. What are the best actions that we as business owners can take to ensure homeless individuals receive the care they need and do not create disturbance for our guests and our customers? We made it all.
There's an annual homeless count that showed the number of homeless has gone down. I think was it to 9. But I think I'm like many who say that's just not possible, given the many homeless individuals that we see throughout our city on a given day. I think the right approach is what council is already doing. It is to have not only navigators, social service workers, to try and work with individuals that are homeless, but also to acquire more beds outside the city for these individuals. I was on the council, along with Amy, that enacted a no camping ordinance in public spaces. Unfortunately, there was a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision that prohibited the enforcement of those laws unless there were beds to place these homeless individuals. So as a result, that resulted in our inability to be able to implement that ordinance fully. More social service workers to try and work on long-term solutions as well as beds. I think there now will be 5, is that right? To have additional places where those homeless individuals can work. I also commend the work of MB Safe, which supplements the work of our partners.
When I was general counsel of LAPD, they had a huge homeless challenge. And when you talk to the police officers, a lot of them get training on how to identify mental illness because many of the homeless are mentally ill. And sometimes the homeless aren't harmless. They could be extremely violent. So you really want to call the police first if you think there's any type of violence going on. Let them intercede. They have the resources. A lot of them have the training. We've given them the training, which is really good, to identify mental illness. But they can be dangerous. So make sure you make that call to the police if you think that's the type of person. And we've got a lot of resources. I give credit to Rita with MB Safe. That was a grassroots organization that's done a spectacular job regarding homeless and getting the services they need. But please, some of these people will be extremely violent. So call the police first. A lot of them have been trained and they'll get the resources necessary. Thank you.
I feel the city needs to be much more proactive, not just with the homeless, but with the police problem, hiring more police, with what's coming down the pike from LA City and the homeless. They are trying to move homeless out of the city, moving them out of their encampments. And all it takes is a cell phone where somebody comes down from a homeless encampment to Manhattan Beach and says, this is the place to be, come on down. So again, I think our council needs to be much more proactive in that. 5 beds is definitely not going to be enough. Work more with MB Safe and come up with some solutions that are going to work for the influx that we're going to see in Manhattan Beach. All you have to do is go down and walk under the pier in the morning, and you'll see that there's more than 9.5 homeless people in Manhattan Beach. Thank you.
I think it was 9.3. A point in time count. So one evening, once a year, we do a count. And yes, it was 9.3 people. And that's essentially, we look at homelessness as a regional issue. I identified this problem. I jumped into this problem several years ago. I co-founded a grassroots effort. We have worked collaboratively in a private and public endeavor to address homelessness in our community, and we have had incredible success. In the last several years, I worked with the city council to advocate for a dedicated housing navigator. So we have that. She started last January. I asked for beds to house our people collaboratively with Share Collaborative Housing. That has worked. As of last week, we asked for a few more beds. We now have 3. We have a total of 5. And yes, MB Safe does cover the overage. So last year, well, actually from January to October, 18 people were housed between the City of Manhattan Beach and the collaborative effort of Manhattan Beach Safe Alternatives for Everyone.
I've door knocked about 1,000 doors in the last few weeks, and I just happened to be in the Walk Street section of downtown. So this question was very relevant to the residents of the Walk Streets down there. And I just have to commend Rita and her organization for the great work that they've done. You know, the Ninth Circuit Court basically said, you can't just sweep people off the street. They're human beings. You need to have some dignity, or at least a place for them to go. And they basically said, figure it out. Figure it out. Whoever the jurisdiction of the Ninth Circuit Court is. And we've done a terrible job of it, except in Manhattan Beach. And I give Rita total credit, because there's an incredible educational aspect of understanding what the homeless problem is, all the different variables with respect to mental health, with crime. Mark is absolutely right. At one time, we were going to have teams go out and actually meet the homeless, and the chief said, whoa, 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 not so quick. It's a very dangerous position to be in. And so, again, for the 3rd time, thank you, Rita.
Homelessness is up, and it will continue to be a problem again with Attorney General George Gascon. The best thing you can do as a business and a resident is not to feed or give things to our unhoused. That really is a crutch. It will attract more, it will keep them here, and it will provide a disincentive to for them to allow services from MB Safe, our housing navigator, or the city or the county. So please, as Mark said, if in doubt, call the police, and pictures really help. Please report everybody. It isn't that you're ratting anybody out. You really are trying to get them into the system, the robust county system that you're paying for with Measure H, with your tax dollars. And the more pictures and names we can get into the system, MB Safe can outreach. I have the number of our full-time housing navigator, Myra. I work at the library 3 days a week. Myra comes in every week. She makes appointments. I text her pictures and say, this person needs help. This person's unstable. Mark is right. Most of our unhoused are mentally ill or substance abusers, and that's sad, but we can do more. This council's dedicated to doing more, and MB Safe is a force multiplier. Thank you.
Well, it is a complex issue, and it is certainly a regional issue. And like others here, I fear that we will see more because of the laws that are being passed in Santa Monica and Venice. And so I applaud the council for putting on the agenda an ordinance against sleeping in the doorways, which I think has really affected downtown businesses. But it's not just happening in the downtown area, it is happening in the residential areas. So yes, call the police first. I would like the city to make it a little easier for people to find out how to reach somebody to see to help them, right? Because maybe you're afraid, but maybe you want to help the homeless person. MB Safe has done a wonderful job. We are right to thank Rita on this, and I have no problem giving someone credit for something. But the police are trained, and the way to get them into a shelter is you have to build trust with them in a relationship. And I got mocked for that back when I was the mayor. But that's what the police will tell you. That's the best practice. You have to build trust, and then they will go to the shelter. Because of Measure H, which I worked to pass, that has provided the local funds for those shelter beds. So now we can enforce the no overnight camping. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, a hard question for a minute. Have you answered this one? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. The next one is a long question. It will take me longer than a minute probably to read the question because it requires a lot of background information. And it's especially important for those of you in the room who are not business owners, so don't know what I'm talking about with this. But this is in relation to the business license tax that all of our businesses in Manhattan Beach pay. There was a question that was similarly asked at the Chamber of Commerce, and I noticed that the responses didn't quite match the question, and so I'm adding more detail to this question, which is why it's going to take me a minute. The current Manhattan Beach business license tax calculation has been described by our own city manager as not particularly small business friendly. The tax is calculated on a percentage of gross revenue. Gross revenue, not profits, not net revenue, gross revenue, not to exceed the amount of $10,271, which means that small and medium businesses are paying the majority of all the business license tax for the city. During that last little break, I looked up to see we collect $4 million in business license tax from 5,000 businesses in Manhattan Beach. If $10,000 is the most that you have to pay, imagine how much of that $4 million is coming from small businesses. So the tax cap begins when a business reaches gross revenues, again, not net and not profit, of roughly $4.3 million. So all you have to make is $4.3 million in gross revenue to have to pay that maximum $10,000. So a lot of small businesses make that cap. There's no difference in tax for small businesses who make that capped revenue and large chain stores like Ralph's, Target, and the Apple Store. Do you support changing the business license tax calculation to better support small and medium-sized businesses and keeping it revenue neutral to the city?
Okay.
I'm gonna let everybody answer that question because it is a complicated question. Did you answer last time? You did. I thought so too. Okay.
Well, I put the yes because it is simple. And if the city manager is telling you it's not business friendly to the small businesses, then we need to do something about it. So if you look across America, small businesses really are the heartbeat of America. It's no different here. And our small businesses downtown, many of you are residents and you contribute to this community. You always are helping the community and the schools. So yes, we have to do something and we need to do it with a sense of urgency. I don't know why he said that and didn't do anything. I don't know why he said that and council didn't do anything. We have to do something. City council needs to act with a sense of urgency. They need to be proactive. This should have been solved by the time we had this forum. And when I'm elected, it will get solved right away. That's what I do. I get things done. I've been a public servant. I know how to operate in local government. I know how to go from point A and B quicker than anyone else. So yes, that needs to be done sooner than later.
I also agree. Yes, it needs to be changed. And the one point to that, which Mark didn't bring up, is you need to get 3 votes on council to make that happen. And how you do that, I still think is up for discussion because the amount of money you raise, do you want that larger? Or do you want to keep it where it is and reduce the costs to the smaller businesses? Okay, so revenue neutral, yes, then we want to make it the amount relative with all of the businesses up to what that, there wouldn't be a maximum amount, correct?
I don't know. That has to be decided.
So that could be decided, but it needs to be much more equitable to the small businesses, and the bigger businesses need to pay their bigger share. It needs to be fair.
So short answer, yes. So long answer is kind of a two-part answer. Part of this measure does have to be brought before ballot in order to, measure has to be brought to the public in order to be able to decide. However, other cities, including Hermosa Beach and Redondo Beach, have figured out how to help their small businesses pay less money in taxes, not paying the same as the larger businesses like Apple and Target and Ralph's. One of the big concerns for a small business that is the root of assisting our organizations that go out and ask for fundraising is the fact that if they try to donate $100 worth of gift cards, that gets counted, even though they get no receipt for that, that gets counted into that gross, what did you call it? The gross net. Yeah, gross revenue, my apologies. So we need to turn that around, and we can do that part quickly. Small businesses can't survive and support our communities paying such high taxes. We can do some quickly and others with a ballot measure.
I'm going to sound like Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank here. One of the things that you accept when you go into business is what your cost is. And so when a small business goes into business, they accept that. So I think making an exception for small business is an interesting concept and should be studied further. I don't know that I'm in support of it right now, because then you have a small business versus big business situation in Manhattan Beach, and the big businesses will take notice of that. If anything, Frank had a great idea in our discussion about that, and that is to encourage tax incentives on small businesses. I think they've accepted the responsibility of what their tax should be when they went into business, but giving them some kind of break, irrespective of a large business, was something I'd like to see studied further.
Well, this is why we have forums, and elections have consequences. That's just a completely different answer than I have, with all due respect to Stuart. Small businesses are overtaxed. Everyone's overtaxed in California, taxed enough already. So I absolutely support a reduction in small business tax revenue. I ran on this issue in this very room with the DBPA in 2018, 2019. I owned my own retail business. I saw the paperwork, the taxes, the regulation. I did the banking. I paid the payables, and that was in Wisconsin. Out here, it's just triple probably the complexity and the cost of doing business in California. I absolutely would support this. I have fought for this on council. Again, elections have consequences. I have been outvoted by my colleagues for 3.5 years. I was kicked off the finance subcommittee because I was pushing this idea so much that a prior mayor was like, okay, Suzanne, we're taking you off finance subcommittee. We're putting in more, tax-friendly council members. And so I don't have that voice now. Think carefully about business license taxes in this race. I support Rita as a second business-friendly tax person. Thank you.
So it's been mentioned that, if I were on council, I'd do this right away. I don't know why this hasn't happened. That's not how it works. Another person mentioned it has to go out to the people. It's the Prop 218 issue. Prop 218 was voted in by the people of California, and we could do a mail-out ballot. And if we wanted to change the tax rate, well, because it's a business license fee, right? It's a fee. It's not. So in order to do that, we have to go out to the voters. Now, you could on council say we want to do that. But I also suggest whenever you're trying to pass something like that you pull together a committee or a group of residents, of small business owners, large business owners, council members, the finance manager, and you talk about it, and then you go out and you educate the community about why you need this. So short answer, yes, I absolutely think it's unfair and we should change it. But we can't just say, I'm going to change it. We have to follow the process, and I think we could make it collaborative, and we get a lot of support because we all love our small businesses. Thank you.
Through fora like this one and the one that the chamber put on, you're hearing a lot of comments and a lot of allegations, a lot of guesses about what the law is. If I'm elected, when I'm elected, I would put on the council agenda right away a discussion of the business tax formula. The business fees, as was described, would require a vote to increase and to change. There are policy reasons for the way it is now. That needs to be better explained. It's not a simple cut taxes of small businesses. Of course, if I had a magic wand, I'd love to wave the magic wand and say that we're so. It's not that simple. I wish it were that simple. But there are ways that we can approach it, particularly if that is our policy objective. And I would be supportive of that. I have run a small business myself, investment property, as well as my own law practice. And I understand the concerns that small business owners face.
I like that service. This is great. Okay, this one's a little simpler. How would you explain to your employees the inequity of part-time minimum wage employees having to pay or park far away from their jobs versus city staff having reserved free parking when they work stable hours?
Oh, did you just pass that off to me? I think, again, this is an inequity between the businesses that don't get the same benefits that city employees do. And as public servants, I think we need to look at where we park and where we share our parking with the rest of the community. There's ways with our dial-a-ride buses that our city employees could park off-site, open up parking for employees, and we could be shuttled into work.
Having come from a small family restaurant business back east, I understand the issue with parking. I'm not really sure what I would say other than this really stinks. I ride my bike everywhere. I get comments about it. Is that an e-bike? I'm like, does that look like an e-bike? I would strongly encourage our employees and our business owners to talk to each other about alternative methods of getting to work. Sometimes when I'm in the hair salon and somebody will say, oh, I have to feed the meter again. I have to feed the meter again. Sometimes I wonder, and I've asked, wouldn't it be cheaper to just Uber to work? And she said to me, yeah, actually it probably would, based on how much money and then getting the ticket because I forgot to put it in. So it's an unfortunate thing. I can't change the parking for the business owners and for the civil servants, but I really would commiserate with my employees, very much so.
This is an easy one. I would absolutely support permitting for employees to be able to access downtown. Let's face it, most employees don't live in Manhattan Beach. Most employees do need some aid to come into town. And our infrastructure is such that we are becoming a hill that people that are of low income, and obviously minimum wage workers are in the low income, they need help. And so giving a permit is a perfect idea for this. You know, we had a situation where we were doing valet parking a few years back. And one of the things I suggested when I was on the commission was that we incorporate allowing permit for valet parking for employees. But I got a lot of pushback from the businesses, and I don't quite understand why. So these are ideas that are working, that are in the works in terms of being put out there at different commissions. But I would absolutely support free permit parking for employees.
It's a great question. And again, elections have consequences. I am on a council with several people who have never owned their own business and some who have never really worked in the private sector, and certainly not a small business. My entire family is small business and entrepreneurs. Our own children, 3 of our daughters started their own pet sitting and dog walking business when they were in 3rd, 5th, and 7th grade, and they made $15,000, $20,000 before they were in high school. I bring a private sector focus to everything I do at City Council, and government can be very insular, very bureaucratic. It is literally everything that you think about Washington, D.C. does even, and I love the city and I love the staff, but they forget what it's like in the real world. And I'm constantly saying, in the real world, you do realize time is money, et cetera, all these things that we take for granted in the private sector. So elections do have consequences. I have been outnumbered. Joe Franklin has been a big plus to the council with me. He also has a small business, private sector mindset. I don't have a public sector pension. I always think about all of you with no pensions as well. We'll work on it.
Could you repeat the question verbatim?
How would you, I'm loud, it's okay.
Okay.
How would you explain to your employees the inequity of part-time minimum wage employees having to pay for or park far away from their jobs versus city staff having reserved free parking during regular business hours?
I sort of want to reject the premise of the question. I think it's an us versus them framing, and I don't feel like demonizing our City Hall employees because they work long hours for everybody in the city as well. If you're trying to get your permit through or your planning permit through, and the planner can't get to the office because they can't find parking, that could impact your business as well. However, I will say that, as we talked about earlier, shuttles for employees makes a ton of sense, right? I mean, we talked about that. Shuttles maybe don't make sense for visitors. It's expensive, but if you have shuttles and they're running late at night we're talking about the minimum wage, part-time workers, I think the people who work in the shops, the people who work in the restaurants, it is a problem, and it's a problem for residents when you give permits. Then the people who live near downtown, the employees are parking, pretty far up because they have no choice. So I absolutely think looking at it holistically, not us versus them, because we want everybody to succeed. Thank you.
Joyce Surprising, win that 1 minute.
I absolutely would support a shuttle. So there is less of that sense of inequity, but still obviously in the premise of the question, there's a distance. The problem is there's a limited number of parking spaces, not just for downtown workers, but for the customers that all the businesses want to attract. The issue with the city, which I just think needs to be borne in mind, is that what we had before in the City Hall lot were that city workers often were unable to find parking. This is a competitive labor market. And in fact, the city has had difficulty hiring people. That's one of the reasons why we don't have enough people. That's why the Community Development Department, which was going to staff an employee to lead a downtown survey for a long-term solution for dining decks, the person that they hired took another job. One of the complaints that we had when I was on council, I know of at least 4 people who were offered jobs, didn't take the jobs, and one of the reasons they indicated is they had no place to park. So parking has ramifications for the city as it does for businesses, but the parking should be shared.
Sorry.
Well, I've worked in the private sector and the public sector, and both will tell you that you want to house your employees close to work. It's pretty simple. So Rick Caruso, very successful businessman, he housed his employees close to work. Bert Bachman, the #1 Ford dealership in the world, housed his employees close to work. And when they didn't have enough parking, he had a parking lot and a shuttle. So that's how you solve the problem. But you got to have your employees close to work, whether you're in the public sector or private sector. And we've got the solution. We've got a big city parking lot right behind the Macy's. We need a shuttle service so employees can go back and forth. It's quite simple. But you got to have your employees close to the work, whether it's private sector or public sector.
Sorry, did you answer this one? You did? Okay. I know, it does seem like it was a long time ago. It was only 7 minutes ago, but I think my attention span. And actually, this next question, we all deserve to go do this afterwards. So it'll be a nice, easy question. Rita, do you start this one?
Yes.
Okay. Where is your favorite place to enjoy a cocktail downtown, and what is it?
Am I allowed to say I'd like to do a pub crawl? Oh, wow. My favorite cocktail. My favorite cocktail is at the restaurant that I happen to be at when I'm ordering a cocktail. But no, I have a few different places. My friend Linda and I like to walk across the street from Pages and go to Arthur J because we have to special order. It's not actually on the menu, but it's vodka and they infuse it with jalapeno, and it's just the perfect sipper because it's spicy and you're not taking it down too quickly. But the mango, I was over at Esperanza, and that mango margarita is really to die for. So, and then, if I was really to just like end my evening, I'm going to stop by at Shellback or Erks for a good old, Stella or pound down a beer with some friends of mine. Thank you.
I'm not as regimented as that. I'm boring. Martini at Mangiamo's. Oh, I'll let it go at that. Vodka martini, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mangiamo has a great bar, and I'm partial to the lemon drop martini. And then Shellback for a margarita and a crispy ground beef taco is the best, looking out over the ocean at Land's End.
So I had written down Mangiamo, limoncello-tini. So that is my cocktail, but I'm really partial to Ercles. I mean, I just don't think you can go wrong. It's just such a great atmosphere. And I too like a good old Stella, but they make a remarkably good Mai Tai at Ercles. And, that's all I'm saying.
That's all I remember.
For me, it starts with a beer, either at Shellback or at Ercles. But I love the mojitos at Shea.
I'm generally a beer and wine person, so if I'm gonna get a beer, it's gonna be Hercules or Shellback. The wines, the Strand House, you get that view. It's absolutely spectacular. But all our restaurants have great quality wines and great atmospheres, whether it's Mangiamo's, Arthur J's, The Shade. We're very, very fortunate. Oh, time for your drink?
I don't know if you remember the answer I gave you for the food, but I might give you that same answer with the drinks. I'll start at one end of town and go through the other end of town and enjoy them all. Probably my favorite place is where we go to Nick's with our grandkids, and they run around in the play area out there where we used to have water running, but it doesn't run anymore. And we can sit outside, my wife and I, and I'll have a good glass of red wine, enjoy their little bistro steak, and then go out somewhere else for an after dinner drink. We may even have a drink here, I believe.
Well done, well done. And everyone deserves one after this night. I really appreciate that. Okay, next question. The length of time to plan, permit, and expect the build out for a new business now commonly exceeds 1 year. With ever increasing rents that must be paid even before your business is open, what suggestions do you have to make the city's permitting and planning process more streamlined and business friendly?
It's no secret that the planning department is under a tremendous amount of pressure with respect to hiring. We've had a tremendous inability to find people. And so our planning department is behind. There's no doubt about it. However, I have every faith and confidence in our planning director, Carrie Tai. She's one of the most responsive and educated planners I've ever seen. I've been on the planning commission and I've experienced about 2 or 3 different planners. Carrie does a great job. She also has, just prior to COVID, had instituted a brand new computerized system that allowed people to do things outside of having to come to City Hall. To be honest with you, I don't know what the outcome of that was because I was off the commission about 2 months later. But I just want to let you know that the city does everything it can, and the planning department does everything it can at all times. But right now we are behind. This has even caused a critical situation wherein we're probably going to have our outside dining out, and then there'll be a period of about a year before we actually get a planned outside dining situation put into effect.
Sorry. That was a two ding buzzer. Yes, I am, being the only incumbent, one of the least satisfying, least successful departments, in my opinion, in my first term is community development, which is planning. And they know it. I don't say anything publicly that I don't share with the city manager and with staff. I have been pushing for 3.5 years on this department, and I just got a briefing note from the city on Friday. Every week we get briefing notes, and there are 5 open positions. We had one other person leaving, a full-time employee who left. And it costs money. Again, time is money in the private sector. And I do bring that perspective and I push on that at the risk of fraying some relationships, I'll be honest. But I do believe in sticking up for our taxpayers and our residents and our businesses. And they must understand that when someone owns a property and they aren't getting their permits and they can't renovate it and they can't open it up, they're not going to make any money. And I wore green today because small business is about making money. If you don't make money, you're going to close. Government lasts forever, but business has to pay its bills. So we'll work on it. We'll get ComDev staffed up, and it's one of my priorities.
Yeah, thank you. When I was first on council, I worked with a local realtor, Dave Kasky, who is my neighbor, and he would contact me with all these things that were slow in our city that weren't slow in other cities. And I was able to sort of work with the staff. This is a long time, 10 years ago, right? And improve some of those processes. We know what other cities are doing and they work better. And obviously we need to fill those 5 positions. And I would say maybe we fill them not with full-time staff if we can't find them, but maybe we need to hire some independent contractors, some independent planners to move through the bottleneck. And I think we have to adopt a customer service attitude throughout the city, right? You know, our fire department, they go out and, you know, they save your life and bring your groceries in if you're in a car accident. That's a true story. You know, like, let's adopt that customer service attitude, whether it's planning, whether it's, well, Parks and Rec does it, let's be honest, you know, or parks or public improvement, parking tickets, customer service. Let's do it.
This would be one of my highest priorities when I'm elected, as it was when I was elected the first time. I had served for 6 years on the Planning Commission, and I'd seen the slowdown in processing these permits, and I came and advocated for more planners. We had more planners appointed, more projects moved more quickly. So once again, we have had this issue of hiring. It's not just limited to Manhattan Beach, trying to find competent employees that are willing to accept the salaries that we offer in city government is competitive. It's difficult. We're losing potential employees to other government agencies that are all trying to go for the same sort of talent. So as a result, I would propose we have to look at how much we're paying our employees, and maybe we need to offer more enticements. And this unfortunately relates back to your question about parking. There are reasons why these individuals are not taking the job here. We have an assumption that everybody wants to work in Manhattan Beach. That's not entirely true. Also, in the meantime, as was just mentioned by Amy, we have to look at independent contractors to pick up the load.
Water break. So I was walking down the street one day.
One of my 4 platforms is a culture change in community development department with customer-centric processes. I don't think you realize how bad it is there. It's really bad. Our residents aren't even bothered getting permits anymore. So now you're gonna have unpermitted. Our small business owners who want to remodel, don't bother. They can't wait that year because they'll lose $200,000. This is totally unacceptable. There should be an urgency. You used to be able to walk in, get customer service from an individual, and process the permit in 2 or 3 months. Now, if you walk in, nobody will talk to you. I've heard this story again and again and again. People walking into City Hall and nobody will talk to them. The employees are talking to each other. They're on the phone, but you can't get any customer service. That starts at the top. We need a culture change. And there's an urgency to do this. Downtown, if a business wants to remodel, they won't do it now. They won't bother. They won't invest. That extra year that it takes or longer, that's $200,000. Thank you.
I start with accountability. And working in the city for 35 years, I don't see this as being acceptable at all. It starts at the top at city council. It goes down through the city manager and the department heads. You need to hold people accountable to get the job done in this city. This is unacceptable. Why can't we hire employees in our city in a timely manner? We have a lot of revenue. We have reserves. We need to do what it takes to hire the employees we need in the city now and address this problem of permitting. You can go to just about any other city and it takes half as long to do the permitting process as it does here. It's not acceptable. You've got to hold people accountable. We need to move forward to get that done, to make our businesses able to get into business quicker. People come to me and they say, it's taking me 9 months. I have rents that I'm paying and I can't even get into this business. It's not fair. It's not acceptable. Accountability is where we need to be.
That's a real problem. And it's a money spending problem for our businesses not be able to open up their doors more quickly. We have got to get from planning, business plan, to ribbon cutting much more quickly. We all are hearing that it's a hiring issue. Can I just joke and say if we offer them free parking, maybe they'll come? No. So, I mean, it is an issue, and it is something that we need to address. We hear accountability, we hear hiring. I believe we have to streamline the process. We have plan checkers that are coming back and forth. Once you receive a plan, once you've checked the plan, once the changes have been made by the business, they should be returned to the plan checker, and they shouldn't have the opportunity to throw them back at the business owner. That's not using the time well for the staff, and it is not taking into account that the fact that these business owners are actually paying rents while we're waiting for these plans to be checked. So we need to streamline and be more accountable.
No. This one will be fast. Tell us something that is downtown that you think is your personal secret. It'll no longer be a secret now, but tell us something that you think is your personal secret.
I would say Good Boy Bob's has really been a home run. I work at the library, and I would say it's the single place. Uncle Bill's is still the go-to, and then people go to Creation right next door in that whole block. But Good Boy Bob's has been a big plus. When our kids come in from out of town, they enjoy some of the coffee shops like Verve as well. But it's a little gem. It's right on Highland Avenue, right across from Uncle Bill's and just to the south of the library.
I'm going to tell somebody else's secret. So we evolved. Ercules is not a secret, but Councilmember Steve Napolitano's parents met at Ercules many decades ago underneath the sign that says Ercules playing pool. And I love that so much that when I left council, I got him a replica of the sign that said Ercules so that he would always have a part of that with him. What I love is that there are businesses like Ercules that have been here maybe almost 100 years. There are new businesses that are gems, and it's all part of the fabric of our lives. It's all part of the fabric of what makes Manhattan Beach great.
I echo Suzanne's comment. The secret, the hidden gem is Good Boy Bob and the coffee. We're close friends with the owners. Our kids went to school together, and they have gourmet baristas that make incredibly good coffee. So it's a wonderful place to go among many different coffee choices downtown.
It is funny. We went from not having really any coffee downtown to like having so many coffee choices. It's like one a day.
As you know, I believe it's downtown's the crown jewel, so there shouldn't be any secrets. Everybody should know exactly all the wonderful places there are down there, because there really are. You can go down to any place, anywhere here, and find something absolutely delightful that you can eat, experience, shop, just walking around. It's just a fantastic experience. Thank you.
guess would be my secret, but in the fire department for many, many years, we held some early morning staff meetings at Uncle Bill's. So we enjoyed some good pancakes and breakfast there. And some of our management lunch meetings were at Fusion Sushi. And they had some really good food that we enjoyed for lunch. So I guess that's my little secret.
Thank you. Well, apparently I hang out in the alleys a lot because two of my very favorite places that I want to actually spread the good news is Right Tribe and Jesse's Hair, because I love those places. I have spent a lot of time hanging out in Right Tribe, looking at all their beautiful things that they make, the plants, holders that they make out of leather, the stones, like all those rocks. Jesse's Hair, unbelievable, great salon. But I'm going to say that the most incredible secrets that I have found, my dog has yet since passed, unfortunately, my best buddy, but she brought me to every I was brought to.
Well, mine's hardly a secret because we originally 20 years ago used to hang out, not used to, we're at Coffee Beak every Saturday and Sunday morning. Most of you who even attempted to go by there saw us all the time. And that's where we raised our daughter, was on Manhattan Beach Boulevard. Since COVID, we moved to Metlocks Plaza. And you know, every Saturday morning, there's a bikers group that comes down from West LA. There's a judge and there's a doctor who's very involved in our COVID response. And we see them every Saturday morning. I am not a morning person, but I get up every Saturday morning to meet these guys. And unfortunately, over the years, we've lost some of them. But and we don't really see them outside of that Saturday morning. So you can find us at Metlocks Saturday morning, right next to, I'm sorry, what's the name of the restaurant right there? Petros, yeah, between Next and Petros. Please say hello.
Oh, yeah. That's okay. No worries. Okay, well, that actually is the last of the 1-minute questions. Now we're going to go back to, there are just a few more of the paddle questions, and then you guys are out of here to go find that cocktail. And if there are any shops open, please buy something too. Okay, so the last of the questions, yes or no. Do you support an increase in uniformed Manhattan Beach Police Department officer foot patrol on the weekends in downtown Manhattan Beach? Oh, home run. Good job. All right. Manhattan Beach Public Works has discussed increasing the width of sidewalks for years to create a more pedestrian-friendly downtown. It would obviously come at a great cost and need to be included in the long-term capital improvement plan and budget. If residents support the project, would you support it as a city council person? Okay. I think downtown Manhattan Beach would be better if it was filled with multinational chain stores. Well done, well done. I know, exactly. Would you consider offering free parking codes to locals to encourage spending in downtown Manhattan Beach? A free parking, like a code that they could use at a meter or something like that. A pin or. Okay. All right. I am going to win this election and be an advocate for the businesses in downtown Manhattan Beach. If any of you answers no, you are not invited back. Well done, well done. And now in closing, you guys all get a minute to tell us to summarize what you think is the most important thing that City Council can do to contribute to the vitality of downtown business. And let's see, I think it's Amy first, right?
So is this my closing?
This is your closing.
In
This
1
is-
minute?
Yes. I told you at the beginning, 1 minute for everything.
All right. Thank you so much, Jill. And I think this has been a really wonderful forum. So I really want to applaud you for how you've moderated it, and actually my fellow candidates. I think it's been a really good discussion. I think you've seen that we have a lot in common, actually. I think the number one thing I'll do is use my relationships and years of experience, both with the downtown business owners, my colleagues, residents, and even regional partners, whether it's strengthening security and addressing issues such as homelessness and crime, or whether it's helping with the city to make it easier for businesses, and whether it's just creating a wonderful environment and leading by example and being an ambassador, as I always was, for the downtown. I asked for one of your 2 votes. You have 2 votes for city council, and I would be very honored to receive one of those. And I will work for the downtown business, the North Manhattan Beach business, and all the residents. That's why I'm up here. I love this town, and I will work for you.
Thank you so much, Jill. Thank you for making this such a sort of a fun and more lighter sort of forum for us all to really identify how we have a common sort of vision. All of us have a lot more in common than we do in the way of our differences, which really is a heartening sort of message in these divisive times that we're living in. I'm running for council to really address the question that you just raised, and that is, through my 6 years on the planning commission, through my 2 terms on council and time as mayor, I got things done. I actually accomplished a lot of tangible things that you see every day. Our library, I helped get that built through partnerships with our county partners, as well as with stakeholders here in the city and the council, of course. It's not just one person, it's collaboration. I'm one who I see a member of the public here who was very helpful in our battle with the city of Los Angeles on Vista Del Mar to get those traffic lanes restored. It could not have happened without partnerships. I take ideas, I take these issues that are important to these different stakeholders, and we'll get things done. You have 2 votes. David Lesser, I'd be honored to earn one of them. Thank you.
Public service is my passion. It's been my life's work. In the last 10 years, whether I've been on council or off council, I've been serving the residents of this community. I was president of the Manhattan Beach Rotary Club. I'm on the Roundhouse Aquarium. I'm vice president of El Camino College Foundation. I was on the board of leadership of Manhattan Beach and the Historical Society. So I love my community. If you love your community, you should do something. That's why I'm running. That's why I filed an appeal opposing the High Rose project. I don't just talk, I take action. And so I'm asking one of your votes. I'm at the top of the ballot, respectfully. I'm asking for your first vote because I'm the public safety candidate we need back on council with my background. I'll keep you safe. I know policing inside and out. We need more police officers, and we need to be smart about how we're going to do it. Thank you very much.
So my public service comes from being 35 years working for Manhattan Beach. I know this community, I know this downtown area inside and out. I know the issues that have faced you for many, many years here. And an important thing is the collaboration between the businesses and the residents that live here. There's a lot of complaints from residents on a lot of issues that need to be addressed by the businesses. They don't like to be woken up in the morning by truck noise. They don't like to be kept awake at night by excessive music noise. And the city needs to be proactive on the issues that are down here. Why are we behind the 8 ball on what's going on with outdoor dining? There should already be a plan. We knew these were going to have to go away. The city needs to be proactive on more police. The city needs to be proactive on hiring more employees so that the permitting process gets done faster for you. I ask you for my vote, Frank Kiela. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for coming out. This has been a really fun evening, and I appreciate the discussion we've all had. Well, let me start with, I would like your vote on November 8th. I am number 2 on the list, but I will take your first vote as well. We have an issue of safety in our community. I have worked for years in order to make sure that our downtown and our residents feel safe to have business, to operate their businesses in our area. I will work for the entire community of Manhattan Beach, East and West Side. But particularly for the downtown area, I would like to see increased police visibility, and I have advocated for that. And I think that the e-bikes and the bicycles are a great way for our police department, which has been in conversations with our chief. She has indicated that that is something that could be a little bit more proactive for the police officers in case they needed to get to a situation more quickly. Vote for Rita on November 8th, and I will take into consideration all of your safety needs, residents, and businesses. Thank you.
When I entered this race, I had no idea I was going to be running against 4 ex-mayors. And so when I picked the phrase, a new voice for Manhattan Beach, it was really apropos because I am a new voice. However, I'm an experienced voice. I've been dedicated to this community for 4 decades. I've served in its health, education, public safety sector, business, and government sectors, more so than any other candidate on this jumping ahead of myself, diocese. And so what I bring to you is decades worth of experience, decades worth of cultural understanding as well about who we are as a city, about where we've come from, about where we're at right now, which is not a great place, to be frank. And the specific question was, what can I do for downtown? Well, what I can do for downtown is apply my experience as a commissioner for both the Parking and Public Improvements Committee, which I hope they change one day, I hate that name, and the Planning Department. Thank you.
I'm Suzanne Hadley. I would love to have one of you 2 votes on November 8th. And I am probably one of the only candidates up here who has small business in her platform. So my Beach Reporter ads and my mailers and my postcards retailer for 20 years. I've walked the talk. I know what it's like to own and run and thrive in small business. I will be your small business champion. I call myself a small business champion. My first term in office, I think I've earned your vote for a 2nd term. I will be your voice. I would like to lower the business license taxes, improve your safety, continue to work on homelessness, work on a permanent and just help you thrive. Our entire community loves our small businesses. If we lose Peter Kim from Sloopy's and Kim Riley from Riley Arts and Tabula Rasa and Gumtree, we'll be like any other Orange County town, and we don't want that. We want to protect and grow our small businesses. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you to all of you. I know that's the worst thing to tell a politician is you have 1 minute. I kind of enjoy saying it though. I want to thank all of you guys for participating tonight, for your time. I know you are on practically a daily rotation right now of forums and events. So thank you for spending time specifically with us, the business owners. That's really important to us. I also want to remind the entire audience, whether you're here or watching at home, that we are incredibly, incredibly thankful for this community. We are so blessed, and throughout COVID, we all came together as a community, and our businesses are doing better downtown than they have in years, and it's because you guys really, really are supporting us. And just because we've made it past the pandemic doesn't mean that it's all over now. And hopefully the silver lining that we all can come out with is shopping locally really makes a difference in your community. It's not just for the business owners. Sales tax revenue goes to schools. It goes to the city. So it benefits all of us to keep those dollars local. If you spend within Manhattan Beach, the dollars stay in Manhattan Beach. There's actually a figure that says if you spend $1 within a city, 75 to 80 cents of that stays within the city limits. So think about that the next time you open your wallet and you spend some money. Try and spend it downtown or somewhere else in Manhattan Beach. Thank you so much for coming. Enjoy your night, and don't forget to vote on November 8th.
Thank you.